So everything's been seeded, mulched, and watered. So I hope you guys stay tuned and see how this turns out. We've got at least 10,000 flowers planted. I doubt we'll get all of them to sprout, but if we do, it's going to be extraordinary. We're starting to fill in this front garden. We even have a couple flowers. The daffodils and the crocus were the first flowers this year. But pretty soon it's just going to be booming. We're going to have bulbs shooting up flowers. We're going to have these perennial lilies and a whole bunch of new seeds right by our mailbox, which is a lovely little spot. The crocus has since dried up its flowers. I'm just going to let these sit and produce seeds, hopefully, and I'll drop them right down there. But I noticed that the leaves have really bulked up. Look at the size of this one. It's actually huge for a crocus. They're normally thin little grass-like leaves, but they've really shot up. And I've since transplanted a whole bunch more. This is a different kind of crocus here. I also have these little ground covers. We're trying to replace wood chips. These really spread and produce wonderful little purple blooms. And they do help hold back the soil too, because our little retaining wall is rotting away in some spots. Other spots it's been pressed down by cars driving over it, and a snowplow even took out a big section this year. You can see we have a huge line of these, and they really do a great job of holding back that soil. Hey, buddy. Oh boy. Okay. We're starting to get some sprouts, and they're all over the place too. Got some really little ones. We got some pretty nice sized ones already, but they really are just all over the place. So I think we're going to get a pretty decent set of flowers off of these. Pretty excited. So I really only had to water these a couple times, and then the rest has been taken care of by rain. So I've been pretty lucky with the weather in that manner. You can see all this beautiful green growth. And we're going to just fill in all these little gaps with all those flowers. It'll just be a sight to behold. Last year I came through and basically split everything up. I didn't divide all these lilies, but I scattered them around. I spaced them out so that we could really fill in this area. We get this beautiful blanketing effect where we just have flowers everywhere. And if my wildflower seedlings come up, which they are starting to, you can see some here, we should really get an amazing front garden this year. All flowers. It's going to be so beautiful. Right now we just have those daffodils. Got a couple yellow ones and a white one over here, which is kind of cool. Just the petals are white. The little buttercup thing on the inside is actually yellow still. So I don't know if this is a different variety or if it's just some sort of pigmentation that is a little different than the other ones, but it is really lovely. But very soon this is just going to be a palette of yellows and purples, pinks, and all sorts of shades. Got a little robin. I think he's found his feeding grounds. I hope he's just eating little bugs and things and not my seedlings, because this is where we planted all our wildflowers. They're really everywhere. They're starting to come up pretty thick, and they may not flower this year, some of them. They might take a couple years to really develop. Some of them were annuals, so they're pretty much guaranteed to flower the first year. So here's some down here. Little sprouts shooting up pretty much everywhere we sowed them. So I think it's going to be a really great year for the pollinators. We've got tons of beautiful flowers. Look at all these little guys. These were introduced from Europe, but they're really one of my favorite erosion control plants. Look at how they just cover this entire area. These were all transplants. They're just gorgeous little plants. I even like the foliage. Sometimes they get really dark red, so they really just cover a large area. They hold back that soil. Look at all these sprouts. If all of these are my flowers, then I think we got a really great success rate on our germination. Look at them all. We've got quite a bit of variety too. I can tell some of these look pretty much the same, and then some of them look drastically different. So I'll be able to tell which ones are weeds pretty soon. Careful where I step, but like this one I know is a weed. That's a basswood tree, but all the rest of them I think look like wildflowers. Really excited to see what turns up. So if we can get this great germination everywhere, then we should have just a bounty of wildflowers this year.